Jake Asman Show will begin shortly. Thanks to all these great Patreon members who help support the show. Get your super chats ready. Jake will be here in just a moment. If you love the New York Jets, this is the place to be. And now, the Jake Asman Show.
Trades, and more trades. A Jets reporter will detail 3 trade targets ahead of training camp for the New York Jets. Plus, Aaron Rodgers making the Davante Adams rumors feel like more than just a little fodder earlier today. That and much more. It's the Jake Asman Show. Let's hit it and get it started.
Man, our Jets are primed for a historic season.
They don't believe that they're the same old Jets.
I am 100% not falling for them again.
I think you've got a guy that's in love with the sport of football, and it was taken away from him.
I think it's going to be a mess.
He is in a point of life where he understands the pressure.
This team is in a position to win a championship.
3 games in 11 days to start.
I think they have the best roster arguably in the division.
Whether you love me or hate me, we are must-watch TV. Everybody knows that.
We bleed Jets green each and every day. This is not the same old Jets. We have Aaron freaking Rodgers. We have Garrett Wilson. Let's go. We have Breece Hall. Please subscribe and hit the like button below. Super chat, baby. Cut the line. We have Sauce Gardner. We have Quinnen Williams. The Jets bandwagon is loaded. Now it's time to talk all things New York Jets. It's the Jake Asman Show.
Here we go, Jet fans. Hit the like button and make sure if you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, you do so. It is free to subscribe, free to like, and it helps the channel continue to grow. If you missed the first show on the day, Leger Douzable, former Jets defensive lineman, now an NFL analyst with CBS Sports and NFL Radio on Sirius XM. He came on the show to preview the upcoming Jet season, and it was an awesome conversation with Leger. Joining us right now is someone you could check out his work weekly at jetsxfactor.com. He's been on the show before. Brandyn Pokrass joins us right now. What's up, Brandyn?
I'm doing good. How are you doing today?
I'm hanging in. So originally when I was going to have you on, it was going to be to cover the story you wrote over at X Factor this week, 3 trade targets for the Jets ahead of training camp. But I think now, given what has occurred the last 48 hours, we have to potentially add a 4th trade target to the Jets, and that is Davante Adams. We did the show yesterday, Kay Adams having Davante on, Davante saying Aaron Rodgers still in his ear about trying to play with the Jets. And then this is from earlier today, Rodgers in that annual celebrity golf tournament in Lake Tahoe. This was Aaron Rodgers talking about Davante Adams.
What's up? Do you think Luke Getsy's going to utilize Davante Adams good in the new Raiders offense?
I love Luke Getsy. He's a fantastic coach.
Awesome.
And I love Davante. I can't wait to play with him again.
Great. Love to hear it.
Yeah.
Can't wait to play with him. ... Again, is Rodgers trolling or is there something we don't know?
You know, he could be talking about golf. You know, there's always that possibility. He could be talking about golf. But, you know, I think it's not a secret that Rodgers wants to play with Davante again. I mean, they had one of the best connections between a quarterback and wide receiver in the NFL when they were in Green Bay. And it would make sense for Rodgers to want to bring that over to the Jets. You know, it all just comes down to the viability of it. Right now, doesn't seem viable. Raiders want to try and compete in the AFC. Antonio Pierce talked about wanting to compete and trying to build a culture there. But hey, if things go sideways, that contract looks a lot more feasible at the trade deadline than it does right now. And the Jets, depending on if they play to the level that they can, and I personally think they can and will, the trade kind of writes itself. You know, like a 2025 third, maybe another asset for Davante Adams. That contract isn't as bad at midseason with it being prorated, and there isn't guaranteed money after this season. Kind of makes sense. So I don't think Rodgers' mindset with that is so far-fetched. There just has to be other factors that play out before it.
Well, to me, the biggest thing is it could happen, but a lot has to happen for it to happen. The Jets need to be in contention. The Raiders, to me, need to be out of contention. the Jets would need another receiver. Now, look, every team could use a Davante Adams, but let's say Mike Williams is healthy and playing great. Malachi Corley is playing really well as a rookie. Gibson takes a step. Garrett's Garrett. You might not necessarily want to use your resources in bringing in Davante. You might need a pass rusher. You might need an offensive lineman. You might need a safety. There might be other things the Jets would use that extra third they got from the Lions in the draft over a receiver. Now, do I think Rodgers is trying to get Davante? I do, but I think he also understands a lot has to happen for that to happen. And I think Rodgers is trolling a little bit there. He knows when he says that it's going to go everywhere and he can mess with his buddy Davante. So I think that's part of it too.
It's like stacking a bunch of Jenga blocks, right? Where everything kind of has to go in a certain order to reach the top. And it can go in a bunch of different orders. But you need the Jets to be competitive and winning games, which, hey, it's very easy to say that right now with the way their roster looks. But the NFL is an NFL. Things can change on a dime. You need the Raiders to not be in contention. You need to see what the roster outlook looks like. Is Mike Williams, like you said, is he producing? Did Malachi Corley gain a role in the offense right off the bat and into midseason? How does Xavier Gibson look? And even beyond that, what does the rest of the roster look like? It could be very feasible that the Jets need to pick up another offensive lineman midseason with that type of pick, or that defensive line with some of the losses that they had. They can't do the same things they've done in years past, so they need to make a move to get another guy. Or if the safety room doesn't look as strong to where they think it might be, maybe they have to pick someone else up there. It all is predicated on a lot of different things, but it's one of those situations where I think it's a bit more likely than some people have said, but it's also not this thing that's a done deal.
Well, the thing is, too, it could simply just be next year, right? Like Davante gets cut by the Raiders. His contract's no longer guaranteed. They're going in a different direction. He's a free agent. He signs with the Jets to play in Aaron Rodgers' maybe final year in the NFL.
Yeah, kind of ride off into the sunset, the last dance, as you might call it, with, oh, now we got Davante in this offense along with Garrett. Who knows what Mike Williams' status is? He's only on a one-year deal. That would make the move make even more sense. You would have Corley there. Yeah, it kind of would add up for Davante to join the Jets next year. But you also could think of it as the Jets jumping the gun a little bit and jumping the market if they tried to get it done midseason. And this would be predicated on the Raiders not doing great this year and saying to themselves, all right, we actually need to solidify quarterback. We need to solidify the rest of this roster. We're not ready to compete just yet. And they're in a division with objectively two very good teams in the Chiefs and the Chargers, who I think are going to be much better than a lot of people think this year. You have Denver, which I don't know what Denver's doing, to be completely honest with you. And then you go even beyond that, right? The AFC is a gauntlet. So if the Raiders immediately know that they're not going to win the division and they're not as good as the other wildcard teams, could be a very feasible option, like I said.
Well, you look at their schedule, and it feels like I'm doing the show from yesterday, but the last 3 games the Raiders played before the trade deadline, brutal. I mean, the 3 games they play before the deadline: at the Rams, home against the Chiefs, at the Bengals. They start with the Chargers, then the Ravens, Panthers, Browns, Broncos, Steelers, then Rams, Chiefs, Bengals. There's a scenario they're 3-6 at the deadline, and then Davante's available, and then boom, you can make that trade.
Yeah, 100%. And even some of those other games, right? If Bryce Young and the Panthers roster takes a step forward, that game's not as easy. Pittsburgh could be much better, and I think they personally have a very solid roster. None of those games are a cakewalk, and the Raiders are a team where you would think that they're going to be able to compete, and you would think that they're able to win a decent chunk of those games potentially. They also got a lot of their wins down the stretch against bad football teams last season.
Including the Jets.
Including the Jets, the Zach Wilson-led Jets. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the true structure of the Raiders looks like, because I don't think we've actually seen what Antonio Pierce's team looks like against that upper echelon type talent on a consistent basis.
If you're tuning in live right now, we're talking to Brandyn Pokrass, who covers the Jets for JetsXFactor.com. Brandyn wrote a story on 3 trade targets for the Jets to consider ahead of training camp, and then all the Davante stuff broke in the last 24 to 48 hours, so we opened with that. So that is a bonus trade target, but that is, as we covered in the monologue here, not something that would happen till much closer to the trade deadline. Before we get into Brandon's other targets for the Jets to consider, a reminder to join the Patreon, folks. You get access to the Discord for less than a cup of coffee a month. You get bonus shows not on YouTube, Discord access. Once again, Discord access, because I get asked daily by 5 to 7 people, how do you join the Discord? You join the Patreon first. Then, of course, you get bonus perks like the show ad-free in audio form, your name in the countdown ticker, and plenty of other things as well. Plus, everyone who joins the Patreon will get a discounted code to use in the launch of the upcoming merch store. And let me just say, we got some really cool items I think Jet fans and Asmaniacs are going to enjoy. So patreon.com/Jake Asman Show. Shout out to Christian Bainbridge, Dave Miller, our 2 most recent Patreon subscribers. So Brandon, let's dive into your list here. The full article is available at jetsxfactor.com. Number 1 on your list of 3 possible trade targets for the Jets is Courtland Sutton. Not Davante Adams, but a different wide receiver in the same division. Your thoughts on why he is an option for this team?
So my thought process with this was, all right, Davante Adams, everyone's talked about him. Everyone knows what the situation with Davante is, right? It's not a trade target right now, but it's more of something that could pop up mid-season trade deadline if certain things happen with the Las Vegas Raiders and if the Jets are in the spot that everyone expects them to be at. When it comes to Courtland Sutton, you know, the contract isn't as easy as Davante Adams, but he would kind of serve a very similar role. And he's a very talented player. He's a jump ball threat. He's someone that makes a bunch of plays downfield and I think would be a very fun option in this offense. But he's also one of these players where I'm like, it probably isn't the offseason move, but it's a mid-season thing. And the thought process is he's not this guy that is going to be a target hog or needs to be a target hog like Davante Adams because of the talent he has and the rapport he has with Aaron Rodgers. A guy like Sutton would be very complimentary to Garrett Wilson, would be very complimentary to Mike Williams. And I understand that Williams and Sutton are very similar in the types of players that they are. But who's to say that, you know, mid-season, Broncos are struggling. They want to get rid of Courtland Sutton. All of a sudden, that contract doesn't look as steep because you're a bit more mid-season. And then you have Garrett Wilson, who you can still move in and out of the slot, but could become your primary slot guy, a la CeeDee Lamb for the Dallas Cowboys. And then you have Williams and Sutton on the outside, 2 guys that would make cornerbacks sweat at night because of the way they can make contested plays. Sutton has experience lining up in the slot too, so he has that versatility. It's one of those moves where I see it as not exactly likely, but it's something that I feel like people should keep an eye on because the Jets may need to upgrade that wide receiver room. Everyone thinks that this room is just set. Oh, we have Mike Williams. Oh, we have Garrett Wilson, Malachi Corley. The NFL isn't that simple all the time. And for those that have been following this team for years, the Jets don't always make it that simple on the offensive side of the ball. There is a very real chance that Mike Williams gets off to a slow start the first 4 weeks, 5 weeks of the season. And the Jets have to look towards upgrading that room because do you want Allen Lazard stepping into an X wide receiver role on the outside alongside Garrett Wilson? I sure don't. I would like Lazard to remain in a reserve situational type role. I want Jason Brownlee to take the step forward. I want Xavier Gibson to take the step forward. But these are things that we are possibly projecting. These are not guarantees. So I think a player like Sutton, who doesn't necessarily have the star power of a Davante Adams, is a great target, maybe not in the offseason right now, because we haven't seen what Mike Williams look like. We haven't seen what Xavier Gibson can do in year 2. We haven't seen what steps forward Jason Brownlee has taken. But he's definitely a guy the Jets should keep an eye on because he is an underrated aspect, or he has an underrated skill set that I think could really complement Aaron Rodgers, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Tyler Conklin, and the rest of this Jets offense in the regular season.
Hit the like button if you're just tuning in. We're going through Brandon's list of 3 trade targets for the Jets ahead of training camp. We hit on the Davante stuff at the top, so that is not included in this list. Number 2 on the list. This is a name I have not heard anyone link to the Jets, and I wonder why. John Feliciano, offensive guard from the Niners. Break this one down.
So with Feliciano, right, he's on a 1-year deal. He's in San Francisco, and right now he is penciled in as a starter. And, he had a really good run blocking season in Shanahan's scheme. Looking back at what I wrote, he actually had a 87.0 PFF run blocking grade. He was pretty good in pass blocking, and he just is a very solid player. But the 49ers drafted Dominic Pooney at that position, and the NFL can be interesting, where sometimes a team where they have the rookie and they have the veteran, and if the rookie even outperforms the veteran by a little bit, they could look at it as, hey, maybe we can recoup an asset for this guy, or we want to get that rookie basically settled and get more experience so we can be better in the future, and now we have a more cost-effective option. I think Feliciano also being in a spot where the Niners and Jets have links to each other, where that move could arise where, hey, the Jets aren't as settled on the interior with their depth as their tackle depth. If something pops up where maybe they're not as big of a fan of Wes Schweitzer, for example, you make a call to San Francisco. If Feliciano isn't winning the job, or the Niners don't want to pay him that money going forward in the season, 49ers have a very, very tough cap situation. The cap number is low enough for the Jets where they can make that move. And sometimes it's those types of moves where they put a team over the top, where it's not like, oh, who's a free agent? Who's a free agent that we can just scoop up off the waiver wire, or scoop up off the basically veterans that haven't signed yet. Sometimes it's making that trade with a connection you have, or eyeing a team's veteran that might get cut anyway and capitalizing on that opportunity before other teams can. Feliciano isn't necessarily a guy that may have that happen to him, but there's definitely a chance with him being a bit older, him being a veteran, and the Niners drafting his eventual replacement. So he would be a very, very good option to slot in as depth or even a starter on this line if that potential arises.
When you kind of look at the cost for him, if he were to be made available in a deal, what do you think that would look like?
If you look at it, he only has a cap hit of $2.28 million, 1-year deal. Depending on what his performance looks like in camp, maybe like a 5th rounder.
I would do that for more insurance. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And, are you going to get a better option in free agency? Probably not.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll get to number 3 on Brandon's list in a moment, but we needed more channel members, and Dre is coming through for the people. And anytime Dre gives some membership, we don't play the typical membership videos or drops. We simply play this.
Is Brock Purdy going to run for his life on the opener? Yeah! He's going to die. Let's go. J-E-T-S, Jets. Let's go.
Now, Dre, I appreciate the membership gesture. However, YouTube is not telling me who actually got your memberships here. So hopefully it loads, and I will shout out those who received a membership from our guy Dre. But in the meantime, as I try and fix that situation, I do want to inform everyone that we needed, going into today's show, a projected, according to YouTube, 148 members for our next emoji. After Dre's kind gesture, subtract 5 from that number, 143 members needed for the new Asmaniac emoji. Meanwhile, we'll get the names for Dre in a second. Let's get to number 3 on your list here. This was a surprise for me, Brandon. I won't lie. I didn't have this on my bingo card when I clicked the article and was reading the story. Number 3 on your list, someone the Jet fan knows well.
Yeah, so this one's interesting because I was scouring. I was seeing different players on roster bubbles and taking a look at different possible positions in need that the Jets have. And interior defensive line is still one because we don't know what Javon Kinlaw is going to play at in terms of level. And Can he improve on his past season? What does Lecky Fatu have? And the interesting part about Quinton Jefferson is, yes, the Browns did sign him. Yes, he did get a $4 million deal for 1 year. This defensive line for Cleveland is stacked. I did not realize how much depth this team actually had on the interior. You know, if you look at their depth chart, they have Shelby Harris, Dalvin Tomlinson. They drafted Michael Hall. They have Siaki Ika. There is a lot of different guys, and that's not even including a guy like Maurice Hurst. So many different guys that could be competing for playing time. And it seems like, and obviously I'm not covering the Browns on a day-to-day basis, but it seems like they're going to have a competition. And you're not going to carry like 6 interior defensive linemen or 8 interior defensive linemen and keep all these guys. You have other positions of need. You have other positions that you may want to keep a guy or two. So it's very feasible that even with him being signed to a 1-year deal, that the Browns move off Jefferson. We see this all the time. Guys are signed to these 1-year veteran deals in free agency, and then they're moved or they're traded or cut. And I think the Jets should keep an eye on this, because what's the one thing we're questioning on the interior of the Jets defensive line? Their pass rush. Can they generate the pass rush from the interior? They lost John Franklin Myers, but one of the biggest parts outside of JFM for that interior pass rush was Quinton Jefferson, getting that pass rusher next to Quinnen Williams that they simply didn't have for years. It's a player that New York should still keep an eye on and be open to a possible reunion, because once again, it's not an extensive cap hit. They can fit him under the cap without really any restructuring. And then you look at that defensive line. If Jefferson does fall out of favor for whatever reason in Cleveland, now you're looking at the unit, feel a lot better about it. I know I'd feel a lot better about it if you got Jefferson back in the fold. It's one of those moves that, similar to the Feliciano one, there's a tie back to the Jets. I mean, Jefferson literally just played for them last year, and it would fill a need that this team still has. And that's the big thing, right? With this type of article, it's not me saying or projecting, hey, this is literally the guy that the Jets are going to trade for. And I'm putting my foot in the sand and marking the X and saying, this is the guy that the Jets are trading for. It's more of a thing where, hey, these are positions that the team probably still needs to look at, whether it is in training camp, whether it is in the regular season. And a guy like Sutton would fit that bill. Feliciano would fit that bill. And a guy like Jefferson would fit that bill. So they're all players where keep an eye on them, see how the Jets develop. And it wouldn't surprise me if they're the type of guys that New York eventually targets down the line.
Well, what's interesting is we saw this with the Jets last year, but on the other end of it, right? Mecole Hardman fell out of flavor quick, got traded back to the Kansas City Chiefs. That type of scenario could happen with Quinton Jefferson if the Browns' defensive line is as good as you think it is.
100%. And you see this all the time, right? People are like, oh, this guy could never get cut, could never get moved. And then they get moved. The NFL works in a very strange way sometimes, where teams have these thoughts of players coming in, and you see it all the time with different coaching staffs coming in and having certain guys on the roster that one staff liked and they don't like, or they see a guy in the offseason in the OTA program, think they're going to be one thing, and then they put the pads on and they're like, wait a minute, this isn't the guy I thought we had. Then you have to pivot from there. So many roster changes, so many decisions are made over a long period of time that, look, it's only July 11th. We're still a bit out from training camp. A month from now, August 11th, August 12th, we could be talking about, oh, hey, X position on the Jets isn't as solidified because these guys are struggling in training camp. We could look around the league and say, oh, this team actually isn't as solidified in this spot because these people are underperforming. Or, hey, this team is actually in a much better spot because certain players have just exploded onto the scene in training camp. There's still so much unknown that has yet to been discovered. There's still so much that has to happen that these trade targets are just preliminary, and they could occur, or these guys could have their standings solidified with their teams going forward. It's a crapshoot right now, right? But there are definitely positions of need that the Jets should keep an eye on, that fans should keep an eye on, and these are examples of players that could fit that bill.
If you're watching live, please hit that like button. Only 83 likes and 170 watching. The math is not mathing. It is free to click that thumbs up button. And trust me, there's a reason why all your favorite content creators ask for likes. It's how the YouTube algorithm shows the show to more people. Brandyn is with us now for some questions, so fire those off. Super chats, as always, we'll cut the line. Unfortunately, Dre, YouTube is down, so we don't know who got your 5 memberships, but someone got them. So if you got them, thank Dre, because I don't know who you are. But Dre paid his hard-earned money to send you a channel membership. Let's start this one off here with a question or a comment, more of a statement, I should say, from D. He says, we need another safety and linebacker. How do you feel about the depth among those positions here as we get set for camp?
So here's the thing with safety and linebacker, right? Where the Jets have been more willing to go outside the organization for the wide receiver help, the offensive line help, the defensive line help to a decent extent. Those two positions are the only two where it feels like the Jets are solely reliant on development. It feels like safety is the spot, and Jordan Whitehead obviously speaks to that point regardless, on the other, like in the sense that they did go out and sign him, but they just let him walk. Chuck Clark could speak to that, but he's on a more short-term deal. They wanted to develop Tony Adams. They developed Jason Pinnock. Look at Quincy Williams. Mm-hmm. Everyone was calling for the Jets to try to upgrade over Quincy Williams. Last year, he turns into basically an all-pro. So I think that D is right in the sense that they should look at upgrades for safety. They should look at an upgrade for linebacker, but I don't think those are the positions that they're going to personally be like, hey, we need to step out of the organization, step outside of our development structure and try to upgrade. And that could be for better and that could be for worse.
All right. We'll get to more of your comments and questions. We'll open up the Gusbuster hotline, take some calls here in a moment, but I'm going to show everyone the power of the Asmaniacs. Watch this. Hawk writes in, there are no more memberships to receive gifts. I'm the last one, and I'm holding out for the highest bidder. The first person in the chat to gift a channel membership to prove to Hawk that plenty of people could still receive channel memberships, you will win the grand prize of me sending Hawk to the hole for 24 hours. That's right, Hawk. The first person to gift the membership, they're doing so for one reason and one reason only, to send your ass to the hole for 24 hours. So we have issued that statement, and as soon as that bought membership comes in, boom, we'll see you later, Hawk. While we wait for that to come in, I want to follow up on just the comment we were talking about, the safety depth. I mean, who's to say Tony Adams doesn't take another big step in year 2, another year in this defense? Like, who's to say that Chuck Clark is not really good like he was in Baltimore? Who's to say Ashton Davis is not going to continue to grow like he has since this regime took over? So I don't think it's crazy for the Jet safeties to be competent. And with the secondary they have next to the safeties, a la the corners, that should be more than enough for this defense to still be very elite. Yeah, and also you have Mr. Irrelevant, Jalen Key. You have different guys that they have drafted at the back end of rounds at linebacker, whether it be a Zaire Barnes. What do you have in Jamie and Sherwood? Like, there's guys in the organization already where I think the Jets are going to be like, hey, let's see what these guys got before they try to look at a Justin Simmons, which I think would be a great addition, or they try to look at the trade market or free agency for a linebacker. I think that's 100% well said. And ladies and gentlemen, the power of the Asmaniacs is about to be felt. Hawk, see ya. Oh, baby. Ladies and gentlemen, Dre and Jet It Out at the same time have each gifted memberships. Hawk, we will see you in 24 hours.
Now look what you've done. Hawk, no more protection from the Asmaniacs. Had to pull you out of the chat and cast you down with the Sodomites. Some time in here will feel like you've been run over by the lane train. You understand me? You catch my drift? Give them another 24 hours to think about it.
See ya. I think Georgie tried, but he didn't know how to get the membership. Instead, we got a 99-cent super sticker. So I don't really know what to do with this, Georgie, other than say thank you, man. Appreciate you watching the show. As far as linebacker goes, Brandon, I am higher on Jamie and Sherwood than most. I watched Joe Blewett's breakdown, and I was impressed from what we saw with limited opportunities last year. Look, if CJ Mosley or Quincy gets hurt, yeah, it's a big loss. But, I mean, you can't have superstar depth all over your roster. It's impossible.
Exactly. And it kind of speaks to the point of, like, safety as well. Like, you added Justin Simmons, you know, once again, that money is a huge factor, and who is he replacing? You would think that the Jets would want to see what they have in Tony Adams, what they have in Chuck Clark, what they have in Ashton Davis, Key, etc., before they make that move. Similar to linebacker, where I don't even think there's that many great linebacker options still available. I would rather see what they have in Sherwood, who's taken steps year after year, what they have in Zaire Barnes, who they obviously picked for a reason, and rely upon CJ Mosley and Quincy Williams. Because I think the linebacker unit, just with those two guys and the depth that they have behind them, is more than enough for right now.
Hit the like button if you're just tuning in. If you want Hawk to be freed, the only way to do it is to gift 5 memberships. That's right. I'm a capitalist, baby. I see Mike D's Nuts goes, free Hawk. I'll tell you what, we get a D's Nuts explosion, maybe I will free Hawk, because I just wanted to prove to Hawk that there's plenty of Asmaniacs out there who don't have channel memberships just yet. All right, Brandon, we'll open up the Gusbuster Umbrella hotline here. Before we do that, let's quickly pause because I want to talk to you all about Circa Resort and Casino's incredible football contest that they're offering to everyone ahead of the 2024 season.
We don't need gimmicks like giant checks and mascots to promote this year's football contest because we're giving away even more money than we did last year.
$16 million in guaranteed prizes to be exact. There's 2 ways to win and no rake.
Players in Circa Millions make 5 picks against the spread each week with quarterly and full season payouts.
Circa Survivor entries select 1 team each week with no point spread. Last the longest to win it all. Visit circasports.com for details.
Hit the like button. More importantly, go to circasports.com because you're going to like what they offer there. Once again, info about both the contests you see up on the screen, the Circa Million Pro Football Contest, the Circa Survivor Pro Football Contest. Asmaniacs, we will have a $1,000 entry in the Circa Survivor Contest. So I'm going to need you guys to help me make a pick every week, and hopefully we win the whole damn thing together. Can't wait to be out at Circa at the end of Vegas. Circasports.com for more information on how to enter either one of these contests. All right, let's bring Brandon back up on the screen right now because we have to open up the Gusbuster Umbrella hotline. And first up on our show is none other than Kyle Clifton. Hello, Kyle.
What's up, Jake? Brandon, how are you?
I'm good.
So, you know, the most intriguing player that Brandon mentioned to me was Quentin Jefferson, and not necessarily because of the player, but because of the position. And ideally, I think we'd be looking for more of a run stuffing player in like the Al, his
Al
last
Woods.
name, Al Woods' mold, than we would for another guy who's going to get after the quarterback. Are there any guys like that, Brandon, that you think might be available before the deadline?
I'm not entirely sure because I feel like, you know, looking at their depth chart right now, you know, they did bring in Leki Fatu, who would, in theory, fit that build of that run stuffer right next to Quinnen and really fill that Al Woods role. And then going beyond that, you know, you have some UDFAs on the roster, whether it be a Brandon McGregor or an Eric Watts or Leonard Taylor, where you're not sure yet because they haven't played preseason or been in training camp. Are they more of the pass rushing type? Or are they more of that run stuffer type? I think it's a lot. I wouldn't say it's a lot easier, but I think it's easier to slot in a guy like Jefferson because you understand already how he fits with that defense and understand that, hey, we lost that and we didn't necessarily replace that. If he becomes available, now we can solidify that pass rushing aspect where I think the run stuffer mold, it's not really readily available. I mean, the fact that the Jets finally took care of that last season was such a big deal because they were going year after year without addressing it. And I think also interior pass rush is so important, especially in the modern NFL, where I feel like it's more important to me, considering what type of defense the Jets have, that they have as much interior pass rush as possible. And going on top of that, you don't know what Javon Kinlaw looks like yet. You don't know what the Jets defensive line rotation looks like without JFM and technically Jefferson. So I think adding him would be, I wouldn't say more important, but I would personally target that more. If a run stuffer becomes available, though, and that is more on the table or just as on the table as the pass rusher, I would still definitely consider it. It's just, I don't think that name is readily available right now.
Okay, fair enough.
Kyle,
Thanks.
love the shirt.
Thank you, man.
Good call from Kyle there. Mike D's Nuts says, Jake, I did 5. It's not showing in the chat. What is wrong with the chat today, man? YouTube is killing us. Mike, I'll take your word for it because you would never steal me wrong. So if you said you did it go through on your end like a charge shield, but it's not coming up? Either way, Hawk, you're lucky you got a friend in Mike D's Nuts. You have been removed from the hole. Congratulations. You're back. You did it, Hawk. You freaking did it. Hawk has been freed, I think in like 10 seconds officially. Mike says, check the Discord for screenshots. I will, but I don't really need to. I trust Mike D's Nuts with my life. And sure enough, he has the receipts. Someone send this to Coach Sala. That's how you collect a receipt right there. Man, what's wrong with YouTube, man? We don't even know if someone's gifted memberships now. We used to live in a society. Unbelievable. Unreal. All right. We'll keep going here. Hopefully Mike's memberships come through. How about this comment here from Alan? What a weird comment. Loved hearing Connor Rogers and Joe Caporoso talk about Zaire Barnes. It wasn't a glowing review. Why would you enjoy them talking down on a Jet player or not giving a positive scouting report on a Jet player? Why would you enjoy that? You could say it was informative, but why would you say you enjoyed hearing them think that a player on the team is not good? How is that enjoyable if you're a Jet fan? How does that make any sense, Alan? Hawk is out of the hole. Alan, enjoy the hole.
Now look what you've done, Alan. No more protection from the Asmaniacs. Had to pull you out of the chat and cast you down with the sodomites. Some time in here will feel like you've been run over by the lane train. You understand me? You catch my drift? Give him another 24 hours to think about it.
Honestly, much better trade. I like Hawk better than Allen.
I think with the Zaire Barnes thing, right, it kind of speaks to the point of we have to see it because you can go based off the film that he's shown, and Joe and Connor are two of the best around. We don't know yet until he steps on the field. There's a good likelihood that he isn't ready because
he was a late round pick. Like you're not going to. Chances are he's not going to be the long term starting, starting linebacker for this team. That's kind of how it goes.
Exactly, and the bigger point is you don't need Zaire Barnes to turn into the next Quincy Williams or CJ Mosley. You need him as depth. If he takes enough steps forward to be a guy where you can put him on the field and not be scared that every single play might be a disaster, that's a win because you still have Mosley and Quincy and even Jamian Sherwood as the three guys ahead of him. So it's not necessarily about, like you said, every guy needs to be a superstar. Depth options are just as important in the NFL as the stars because if guys go down, you just need guys to be adequate replacements.
Hawk writes in, free Allen, but not at my expense. We will not be freeing Allen anytime soon. Someone's going to have to make me a substantial offer financially to free Allen. And Allen doesn't have enough allies in the chat for someone to want him back from the hole. It's not going to happen. All right. If it does, look, I love money. All right. I'm a capitalist, but I don't see it happening. Let's see. Twerp is writing 16-0. Well, there's 17 games. I'm going to put you in timeout because it's enough. All right. Stop it. Stop spamming the chat. I don't know what's wrong with you. All right. And since you don't even know how many games there are, I simply, unfortunately, have to do this.
He stinks.
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
Suck it, truthers. Get out of here. All right. We'll see you. I'd love the Jets to go 16-0 as well. All right. But then they would still have one more game after that.
Would be pretty cool.
And I hope they lose that game, resting everyone so they're not undefeated going into the playoffs because there's too much pressure.
That would be a fun discussion to have the week of week 18 about, hey, should the Jets purposely sit everyone so they don't have the curse of the undefeated?
Sign me up for that debate as opposed to some of the other debates we've had at the end of the Jets regular seasons. Should they lose? Should they tank for Alt or Fashanu? And then they get Fashanu. And Allen's like, well, Joe Alt, let me rub my nipples to Joe Alt. Like, calm down, Allen. All right. No one wants to watch you rub your nipples. You sicko. All right. Let's open it up. More of your calls right now. Gusbuster Hotline is open. Joining us right now is a man who has not 1, not 2, not 3, not 7, not 9. How about 10 introductions?
Well, you know, I'm getting really freaking pissed. I thought I saw Gary's pretty wife. I need to get some sleep. I'm happy.
Hi, Brandon Brains. How you doing, my pal?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good to see you. I want to invite you to my show, okay? If you're not busy too much soon. Just go go to my show, Bobby Midnight, okay? Come to visit my show.
I'll definitely try to get over there.
Hey, Brandon, Bobby cleaned his room for you. Bobby, show off the cleaned room.
Yeah, let me move over. Finally.
And for those who missed the first show, Bobby sat in the orange lawn chair today. History.
Yeah, I'm not doing that right now either. That's done. See how clean now, much better.
Show us the other side. Move the chair over.
What other side?
Slide to your right so we can see the other side of the room.
Oh, yeah. I know I have to move over there. Yeah, that's true.
There you go. I also appreciate the fact that you're wearing a shirt during this call, Bob.
Yes, I know. Stop bringing that up. Isn't that much better?
But you did it. Well, why can't I bring it up? You called into this show shirtless.
Whiskey best. See, Keith,
I don't know where he is.
Well, he complains that I don't clean up my room, so I did it right now.
So
can
we revisit your first call today, Bob? How did you feel about your shirtless debut?
Oh my God. No, we cannot do that. Stop. Okay, now we're talking about Brendan. Hey, Brendan, the second guy you mentioned, did he play for the Giants too?
I'm pretty sure he did, yes.
Yeah, because the Giants fans did not like him at all. He stunk. Yeah, he's not a good player. Did he play for Buffalo too?
I think so. I can pull up his.
Yeah, I think he played for Buffalo too. I'm pretty sure.
He played for Vegas, Buffalo, the Giants, and the 49ers.
That's where the Giants got him, from Buffalo. See, I took it sports, Jake.
Gator wants to know, is that a garbage bag in Bob's room?
Well, I have to get rid of it. That's why.
I see.
I cleaned, Gator.
Would you like to respond to this guy in the chat, Jets Mess, who says your room's a pigsty?
You could shut the hell up. That's how I already cleaned it up. So Jets Mess, your name is a mess.
Got him.
Yeah. So, yeah, Brendan. Yeah. What do you think about Allen, the running back? How do you like Allen?
I think he looked really good in OTAs, and I'm very excited to see how he looks in training camp.
I think he's going to be a 1-2 punch with our friend Brees. So
that'd be nice. That'd be ideal.
Yes, very good. Yep. So I'll stay in the back. I'll be quiet.
Bobby, thank you for the time.
Brandon, bye.
Oh, I'm doing another Zoom meeting. Oh, Parts Jake's going live. Gotta end my friggin' stream. I'm Bobby.
What a call from Bob. His room has been cleaned. He sat in the orange chair on the first show. He was shirtless. It was a wild first show today, Brandon. That was a more tamed Bobby Midnight.
It sure sounds like it.
Tom writes in, you could eat prime rib off Bobby's floor. It's spotless. Would you eat prime rib off Bobby's floor, Tom or Brandon?
I'm not going to lie. I probably wouldn't eat prime rib off any floor, so that'd be a no for me.
Interesting. Super chat from Hennessy. So we can't get channel memberships to come up on the screen. You can still gift them. I just can't see them. But let me know if you gift them, because that's very nice of you. But we can still get super chats. And the Hennessy Heisman cuts the line with this. If we got 16-1, I know JJ and Allen would bash us. The Jets could go 16-0, lose the 17th game, and Allen and JJ would call in that week, being like, "Well, now they're going to lose in the wild card round, or they'd have a first round bye. Oh, the bye is going to be brutal for them because they're going to come out flat in the divisional round. That would be the call. That would be coming for 2 weeks.
I will say, like you said about the 16-0 discussions, if we're talking about the Jets coming off flat in the divisional round after a bye week because they're the number 1 seed in the AFC, that would be miles better than so many of the other discussions that have been had over the past few years. Miles better.
Yeah, I would say that would be a conversation I look forward to hopefully having. Will the Jets come out flat off the bye they got for being the 1 seed in the AFC? Oh, man. I love it. Hawk writes in, I'll eat ice cream off Bobby's floor in the middle of July.
These comments.
That's an interesting one. Free Jets mess. Well, I didn't send him anywhere. So he doesn't need to be freed. He's still in the chat. First Day Jet says, I always hear Allen gushing about how great the other 31 teams' GMs are. Of course. Allen's the type of fan that would complain if the Jets won the Super Bowl 35-31. How could Salah's defense allow that many points? That would be the complaint. Anyway, hit the like button if you're tuning in live right now. Brandon, let's talk about training camp storylines, because training camp is now less than 2 weeks to go. Other than, the attention on Rodgers, because that's just how it goes. What to you is the single biggest training camp storyline you look forward to covering?
That's a tough one, because I personally have a few ones that I'm really looking forward to. I've said it on here. I'm excited to see how the running back room shakes up, because Breece Hall, obviously we know what he is, how he's going to play, but does Braylon Allen continue his ascent? How does Isaiah Davis fit in? I think he's going to look really good too. Can Izzy claw and scratch his way back from the abyss? Can Tariq Cohen show some things? And then I think for me, I guess in an overall sense, if not the running backs, what does the depth on this team look like?
Right.
So wide receiver, does Xavier Gibson continue to look like a player that is going to make an impact? Can Jason Brownlee be that pseudo Mike Williams replacement on the defensive line? How does Javon Kinlaw look? How do Lecky Fatu and even the UDFA guys like Taylor and McGregor and Watts, can they step up and continue a trend of the Jets developing defensive talent? How does the safety room look? When you look at all these different things, right, it's so easy to just jump to the upper echelon talent and say, yeah, the Jets have a great roster on paper. And they do, in my opinion. But the true ceiling of this team is going to be determined by the depth. You can have all the upper end talent in the world at your starting positions. Injuries happen in football. Injuries happen very frequently in football. If you don't have the depth, and I'm not saying like 3 guys down the depth chart. I'm not saying that the Jets wide receiver 6 needs to be ready to put up 700 yards. No. You need to have guys that are ready to contribute in even a small capacity and not look lost on the NFL field. And I think looking at training camp, if the Jets have that up and down the roster, they are in really, really good shape And if there's some positions that they aren't, then, well, those are the ones you got to upgrade. Those are the ones you have to scour the waiver wire for, or try to jump the line and make a trade, because that's going to dictate a huge part of the Jets' success this year, what that depth looks like. Because Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses and Elijah Vera-Tucker are awesome. What do the guys behind them do? Are they travesties, or can they hold their own? It circles back, and I know a lot of people kind of forget how everything was talked about last preseason, last training camp. It's the Zach Wilson thing, right? Aaron Rodgers is great, but if for whatever reason he gets hurt, we're screwed. You can't have that up and down the roster with the Jets, and that's why I feel like, for me, the depth storyline is so important.
Did you say Zach Wilson?
Garbage. Look at this garbage.
Just saying, man. Honestly, staying with quarterbacks, so besides Rodgers, how far along is Jordan Travis in his recovery? Could he take a lot of snaps come preseason time, at least for some of them? Because I don't want Tyrod playing a ton of the preseason either, because he's got an injury past. So, Rodgers at the most is playing 1 to 2 series in that last game. Austin Peavy or Andrew Peavy, who's the other quarterback they have signed right now? Like, who's actually going to take this? Yeah, that guy probably going to play a lot of snaps in the preseason.
He has some athletic upside. I'm excited to see what he does with the third stringers, and I think he could be decent. I don't know if it's in the Jets' best interest to push Jordan Travis. I'd obviously love to see him on the field, but he is coming off a catastrophic leg injury. If his recovery is going well enough to where he can be on the field by, let's say, the last week of the preseason, that'd be awesome. But I think it's smart for the Jets to, especially in a year, especially coming off a year where the injuries were just insane, play it as smart as possible. Make sure guys are ready to play in the regular season, but I don't want them taking any chances, especially with a guy that you could argue might be their developmental quarterback of the future.
Brandon, do you have plans for August 17th?
I do not.
Well, I would like to invite you to the first ever As Maniac watch party at T-Squared Social for the Jets at Panthers game. The party starts at 6:30. The game is at 7. We're going to have drink specials, food specials. The ESPN promo team is going to be there giving out swag. We will have Jets giveaways for all people in attendance to have a chance to win. It's going to be a blast. It's located right in Midtown, right next to Bryant Park, right next to Grand Central Station. So easy to get to from Jersey, Connecticut, Westchester, Long Island. Great spot. RSVP, link in the description. If you're watching live, I put the link in the live chat to click on. Make sure you RSVP so you have a chance on some of these giveaways. That's the whole point. Check it out. And Brandon, I hope to see you there, man, because you came to our event on Long Island a couple of weeks back in Hicksville, and that was a blast.
Yeah, can't wait to go again. Gonna be a blast.
This comment's interesting. ISU says, so I missed one show this morning and Bobby showed off his nips live. Sounds like it's been an interesting day. To be clear, Bobby did not show off his nipples, ISU. We did not allow that. All right? I want to make that very clear. We did not have that on the show. I made him put a shirt on. I said no shirt, no service on this program unless he's a hot chick, which then I don't think I'd be allowed to do under YouTube's rules. That'd be a problem. But I want to make that very clear. D writes in, man, I love this show. Y'all be killing me in the comments. D, you're a great commenter. How come you're not a channel member, man? Turn on gift receipts. Someone's got to gift you a membership. Curly says, I miss when Bobby was nice. Curly, you don't think Bobby's nice anymore? King Lowski's watching. Thank God. Turn your freaky down. King, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. It's been getting wild in here lately.
It is the summer. It is the summer.
This is peak July Jets talk, man. SXHBK. What I want to know is where Lane Train is. I guess you missed the second show yesterday. Lane came on before Fialco. The Lane Train was on in the opening 2 minutes. I got to clip that call to play on replay. Check it out. Mike D's Nuts says, Bobby had pastries on. Mike, don't even give people the false idea that that's what was happening. Come on.
Is this Mike D's Nuts?
Yes, sicko. Let's see. There was a comment I wanted to get to here. Robert C. Should Rodgers play in the preseason? Would I want him to? No. If he says he wants to play a drive or two like last year, I'm not going to tell Aaron Rodgers no.
I think it all depends on where Rodgers is in terms of feel, right? Because I think the main reason he wanted to play that drive is he didn't feel like the offense was clicking to the level that he wanted it to. And he wanted that drive to really, get some things underneath them, practice a few things, and be ready to go into the season strong.
Wait, I hate to interrupt, but I just realized, Mike, I think you mean pasties, not pastries. Bobby didn't have cupcakes on his nips. I'm like, wait a second, what's a pastry? And I'm thinking, I can't even laugh as hard as I want to right now. I did Pilates 2 days ago. I am so sore in my chest area. I can't even laugh. Oh, it hurts me so much. What are we doing here?
Pastries.
He meant pasties, not pastries. God, I'm in so much pain. I can't laugh. Someone laugh for me. Oh my God.
My God. To finish the point, it all depends where Rodgers feels like the offense is, right? If they're rolling in training camp and he feels everything's fine, maybe they don't do a drive, but as long as it's managed the right way, I don't think it hurts for him to do a drive, kind of just get a feel of some live bullets with the first team offense and understand, hey, how does this look live? Maybe I like this play, or hey, maybe we're going to scrap this one because for whatever reason, the look just doesn't look right with a live defense on the other side of it. So I think it has its benefits, but at the same time, you don't want Aaron Rodgers running 5 drives in the preseason coming off an Achilles injury. There's a balance that I hope the Jets treat the right way, but we will have to see.
The only thing I could see them maybe not needing to put Rodgers in the preseason, they have a joint practice every week of the preseason portion of training camp. If Rodgers feels like he got enough work done in those 3 joint practices against competition that's not the Jets, maybe he's like, I'm good. But I could see him wanting to play another drive or two in that Giants game. It'd be at MetLife, right? So he kind of would get that, hey, I'm back at MetLife after what happened last year out of the way, even though they're on the road week 1. I think they're on the road first 2 weeks. So maybe because he hadn't played at MetLife, right, and he knows they're not going to play there again till the middle of September, he'd want to play a drive or two in that last game in August.
Yeah, and Rodgers is also an athlete where it seems like he values a lot of visualization aspects and just really being in tune with the mental side of the game. I really think it could pay off for him if he gets that. And I get it. It's different, regular season versus preseason, but get over that hump of stepping on the MetLife turf again and running a drive on the MetLife turf again where, okay, now my last memory on this field isn't the fact that I tore my Achilles on Monday Night Football. Now it's, hey, I let a touchdown drive and hit Garrett Wilson again. Or Breece Hall ripped off a 40-yard run to get us in the red zone. It's switching that mental narrative. And while I wouldn't say it's guaranteed that he does it, it wouldn't shock me in the slightest.
Rob says, Jake just RSVP'd for the 17th. Let's go, Rob. I'll see you there. Shout out to you, Rob. Can't wait to meet you, man. Let's see. This was an interesting one I wanted to bring up. Tom Ace. He wants to know, does Reddick show up day 1 of camp? I say yes. I've talked about this on previous shows. Brandon, your take on Hassan Reddick?
I think with the CBA, the way it is now, the fines are just too big. Now, I think Reddick could do a hold-in. I think he could be at the facility and just simply not practice. But him being away for that long, I feel like it would be, number one, really counterintuitive to his financial situation. And number 2, I think him simply being in the building would help ease, and maybe there aren't these concerns, but ease any possible concerns that may arise. Because, look, it's not like he's been on this team and proved his production in New York for the past 3 years. This is his first year with the team. So there's a lot of locker room things that I think he knows, and I think that the coaching staff knows, and that the front office knows. And I'm not worried about this situation spiraling, because I think it'll be taken care of by at least the start of training camp, if not a little bit into it. But in my opinion, if I were to give a percentage, I'd say maybe like 1%, 2% that he isn't at camp. Now, practicing, different story. But him physically being there, I say it's almost a guarantee.
This super chat just came in. I don't know the context. Or do I? The big fella. Interesting. Very interesting. Bobby, would you like to come on and respond to the pastry allegation? It's up to you. You give me a thumbs up off air if you want to come back and answer to it. You do? All right, stand by, folks. Let's get Bobby's response to the allegations according to Mike D's Nuts that on the first show today, Bobby had pastries on. Not pasties, once again, but pastries.
Well, you know I can't wear my freaking hat. It's hot, my balls will sweat. Oh, look, I have a fan. I'm Bobby.
Well, Mike, these nuts, I wasn't wearing pastries or pasties today, okay? Okay, is that clear up your comment? Thank you. Brandon, guess what?
Yeah?
They tell you I'm monetized. Ready?
What?
I'm monetized.
Oh, that's awesome. Congrats.
I got it the other day. I was so happy.
Yeah,
well,
that's great.
You hop over whenever you have a chance to say hi to me.
I was one of your first channel members, Bobby.
Yes, I thank you. No, Nate was the first one.
I think I was second.
Then Gator. Yeah.
All right, I think the record's been set straight. You did not wear pasties or pastries on your nipples this morning.
No, I did not.
Thank you very much, Bobby.
Oh, you know I like the Yankees and the Jets. Can't believe Jake and Rogers met. I'm more than just a hat. I'm Bobby.
Tremendous. We had to clear that up. A lot of people were wondering. All right, we'll do one.
It's what the people wanted. It's what they wanted.
Shout out to Alexander Chintaman, who says, Jake, if you see this, I'm sorry for spamming 16-0. I forgot there were 17, and I'm 14. I'm a big fan since 2020. Alexander, you're good, man. I didn't ban you or anything. I just put you in a timeout for 5 minutes because I thought it was funny that you were spamming the chat 16-0 when there's 17 games. Anyway, let's keep going. Are you ready for a Gary call, Brandon? Buckle up.
I am ready, yes.
All right, here we go. Gary, hello.
What's going on? I'm concerned, right, about Rodgers not playing in the preseason. We got potentially our hardest game of the year, week 1. And the division is too tough just to say, okay, 1-2, 1-3 start, and then we'll bounce back and still win the division.
You're concerned on July 11th about a preseason game that wouldn't be occurring until late August?
Well, I'm concerned about this idea that Rodgers isn't going to play in a I think it's a terrible idea. He didn't play last year. So
what if he says, I'm good? Like, doesn't he know his body and what he's a Hall of Famer? Like, if he says,
I'm not going to force him to do it, but I'm going to sit him down and be like, are you quite certain?
I don't. The Jets didn't want him to. The Jets didn't want him to play in it last year. He talked them into it.
NFL play, particularly quarterback play, is deteriorating at a breakneck speed since they went from 4 preseason games to 3. It's not my opinion. You can look up the stats. It all supports that, right? And now you're going to say don't even play in the preseason. So now you're treating the first couple of games of your season like the preseason, trying to shake the rust off. It's like, I understand that you're worried about him getting hurt. If he's going to get hurt, he's going to get hurt. If you're worried about getting hurt,
I agree.
Football's not the sport for you.
Gary, my big thing to you is if Aaron wants to play in the preseason, he'll play. Like, if he thinks he needs a drive or two, like last year, he'll play. They're not going to say no to him.
All right. Okay.
You can relax.
They're probably not going to say no to him either way. Whether he
do me a favor. Let's do a breathing exercise together, right? It's July 11th. All right, you're a boxer. It's all about breathing.
It is. And if I had a fighter come to me, even a veteran, like if Usyk came to me and said, I'm not going to do any sparring this camp, I would say, well, then we can't fight then. Like, I can't. That can't happen. We can't go into the biggest fight of your life without any sparring. It's just.
All right, question for you. Based off of that, if Aaron Rodgers says, I want to play in the preseason, but you have to eat chicken with pasta for me to play in the preseason, would you take one for the team and have chicken with pasta so Aaron would play in the preseason?
If he plays 5 drives, exactly like Brandon said, I don't want him to do, which I want him to do, I'll eat some chicken and pasta.
But he's not going to play. He's not going to play 5 drives. He's going to play. He played 2 last year. They scored a touchdown on the second one. You took him out of the game. He doesn't need to play 5 drives.
Played any football in a year and a half. Like, he's got to shake the rust. I don't want him shaking the rust off against the best team in the NFC week 1.
No, it'd be a year because he got hurt in week 1.
He played 4 snaps, Jay. Come on, bro. He played 4 snaps.
But he still was his body was still ready for an NFL season. It's still the same thing.
I think what it comes down to is like Rodgers. At the end of the day, he's a Hall of Fame level quarterback. Like, he's been through camps, he's been through seasons, he's been hurt before too. And I think the biggest thing, and Jake mentioned it too, the joint practices will tell you everything you need to know. Where, hey, if he feels good because he's getting semi-live reps against these teams and doesn't feel like he needs the preseason that much, then he's probably not going to play that much. But if things aren't going right in the joint practices, maybe you do see, instead of 2 drives, 3 or 4. Maybe you do see a bit more of him on the field. But I think just in a sense of just looking at it overall, I don't think Rodgers needs it as much as other guys, because what is he going to get out of it that he can't get in the joint practices? The more you put him on the field in the preseason, at least the way I see it, the more you're increasing that risk of the injury. And I get what you're saying, Gary. Like, oh, you need him to shake off that rust. Is shaking off the rust more important than, oh, the Jets lost Aaron Rodgers in the preseason because they played him 6 drives? Like, it's risk mitigation. And it's not like the Jets' first 3 games are a murderer's row. Yeah, they play the 49ers. They play the Titans, and then they play the Patriots. So even
on the road games are never give me. They should win those games, right? Like,
but even a 60% or 70% Aaron Rodgers that isn't all cylinders should be good enough with this roster to beat the Titans and the Patriots. So it just comes down to, what do the Jets feel good about, and what does Rodgers feel good about with the injury and with him on the field? I don't think it's going to end up being a lot of preseason work. It wouldn't make sense in the context of how important he is to this roster.
So, like, here's my question. If he gets hurt, he plays 3, 4, 5 possessions, drives in the preseason, and he gets hurt. Like, is that any different than if he plays the first 3 or 4 drives of the first game and gets that same injury? I mean, if he's going to get hurt, he's going to get hurt. Like, I mean, it's a violent physical sport. Injuries happen. I can't go into the game like seeing every possible speed bump 10 miles down the road. I kind of just got to let him drive the car. If he gets hurt, that sucks. But I can't, like, I can't go into the season afraid that he's going to get hurt and not let him be at 100%.
I think he's going to want to play, Gary. Like, I think he'll want to play a drive or 2. And if he says that's all I need to get ready, then that's fine. Like, let Aaron Rodgers know his body and know what he needs to get ready for a season when he's about to start for his 18th year in the NFL.
Brandon?
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of what he wants. And I just personally feel that you need to make sure this team gets to the regular season as healthy as possible. Yes, it's great that you get reps. And there's a perfect example of this. The Kansas City Chiefs tend to run a lot of series with their starters. But it's all about risk mitigation. The Chiefs don't have a quarterback coming off an Achilles tear. The Chiefs don't have a roster with a lot of veterans that have injury concerns. It's about getting to the regular season healthy. And look, at the end of the day, that's what most teams are going to do. They're going to make sure that their team gets to the regular season as healthy as possible. Now, I agree with you. There does need to be an extent of Rodgers shaking off the rust, of him getting a feel for his game again.
Which is probably why they did so many joint practices. I bet you Rodgers shaking off rust,
exactly.
There's a purpose for that.
Now, I've never seen a joint practice. Like, so, Brandon, I'm kind of asking you because you've seen these. How physical and how much does a joint practice kind of resemble a preseason game? Like, how similar are they in terms of contact and physicality?
I mean, in terms of the team versus team stuff, when they're running offense versus defense, it's basically everything besides getting taken fully to the ground.
Yeah.
So it's as full speed as you can get without basically tackles. So you are going to get a feel from that. Maybe not the full extent of Aaron Rodgers getting sacked, but you're going to have a pretty good idea of, how the wide receivers look. How does the offensive line look? How do the running backs look? How does the secondary look? You're going to have a very good idea of everything regarding the team versus team. Besides, did this guy break a tackle? Could Rodgers essentially escape the pocket and make a throw while a defensive lineman's actually trying to tackle him? It's a safer environment for Rodgers, but he's still going to be able to get a feel for his play.
I had an NFL coach once tell me that they enjoy joint practices more than preseason games because you could simulate whatever you want. You could do red zone. You could do, 2 minutes to go in the first half. Your team has the ball. You go get in field goal range. You can't necessarily simulate that in a preseason game because it's an actual game.
It's more like a sparring session. It's actually more like a high-level sparring session.
Yes. Now 100%, Gary. Now, before we let you go, Brandon.
Okay.
No. I'm not putting a picture up. I just wanted to bring Brandon up to speed that Gary's wife called him for the first time yesterday.
We go, Gary, you need to stop yelling at all your friends about Joe Douglas and all of the Jet stuff. I mean, I'm going to leave you for Bobby. Wiggle, beagle, beetle, beetle, beetle. Just let your cornrows down and just stop it already with all of the fighting. It's not worth it. I love Bobby. Wiggle, deagle, 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 deagle.
Oh, is that Gary's wife? Hi, Gary's wife. Oh, there she is. Very good looking.
Oh, man.
Great call from Gary. Thank you, Gary, and your wonderful wife. Dre with a super chat. Gary, Aaron has played more football than you have boxed. He's good, and you'll be okay. Amazing. Gary can't get through one call without making a reference to boxing or Brock Bowers or Joe Douglas sucks or so-and-so's from Texas, so I like that player. That's the Gary playbook right there.
Big Garrett Wilson fan.
No, he doesn't like Garrett Wilson because Garrett Wilson went to Ohio State and didn't go to Texas.
I say.
Crazy. Okay. Curly writes in, maybe we could work on a Hollywood Bobby emoji. Man, Curly, you're going up and in on Bobby, man. What did Bobby do to you? Jersey Jet says, please play Blitz Got Beats when you take a beat. When you take a break. I could play a Blitz track at the end. Question is, which one? He's got 3. All right, we're going to wrap up here shortly. Where did Purple Belt Mike go? He was just on hold, and now he's gone. And he's back now. Purple Belt Mike, you're up next. What's up, Mike?
Yeah, just a quick question for you. Have you been able to see Rodgers running around, throwing the ball and stuff recently? And have you noticed anything with his Achilles at all?
I mean, from the OTA practices, he looked as normal as he could look. He didn't look like he was limping or overemphasizing one foot or the other. He looked as good as he could possibly look.
So I want no one to say anything else about this guy's Achilles. He's back. Let's go. We're winning the Super Bowl, baby. JETS, 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 Jets.
Mike, excellent call out of you.
Great call.
I like it.
Great
I like
call.
it. Green Vibes Equity Redemption LLC. Now that is a long name right there. Can we get a Gary's wife in boxing emoji with Bobby? I don't know if that fits in an emoji. There's a lot going on there. But I'll take
maybe an emote.
Yeah, that might be hard to put for a channel emoji. Hennessy Heisman with a super chat. Can we sweep the division, please? Please. Look, the key to winning the division, I think, is minimum. You got to go 4-2. So sweep the Patriots, and you have to at least split with Miami and Buffalo. And I think with the other games on the schedule, that should be AFC East chance. But if you're 5-1 in division, I mean, you're AFC East champions.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the rosters, right? If the Jets play their potential, they should win at least 4. Where you're sweeping New England and you're splitting at minimum Buffalo and Miami.
I would agree. I mean, look, everyone's going to assume they'll lose in Buffalo, but they play Allen well. Like you can't rule out any of those games. And look, the only guarantee that they have to beat New England twice, especially because they play them twice in the first 10 games. So if they're the first game, maybe you get Brissett. The second game, you're probably facing May for the first time. You got to make him look stupid as a rookie quarterback, the same way they destroyed Zach Wilson every time he played the Patriots.
Exactly.
Sean says Jets will sweep the division. Okay, Sean, have you seen
that would be great, but look, Miami still has a talented roster, and Buffalo has a superhero at times at quarterback. Like, it's not going to be as easy as the Jets roll up against these opponents and just beat them off the field. Now, I think they're going to win majority of their division games, but this is still a very tough division.
Sign me up. Sign me up for sweeping the division. Are you crazy? Are you nuts, people? Maybe it will happen. I'm in. Hit the like button before we get out of here. Brandon, plug yourself. Where can people find more of your work?
So, always on Twitter at the thing below, at BPOC24. Writing not only Jet stuff, but also doing a bit of Rutgers and FAU football coverage. Really excited for football to start. It is going to be a very busy season, but very excited. And thank you once again for having me on.
Ladies and gentlemen, Brandyn Pokrass, JetsXFactor.com. Another excellent hire by Bob Sabo. I mean, that guy just gets it right with his hires, doesn't he?
Absolutely.
He's Brandyn Pokrass. My name is Jake Asman. Appreciate you guys tuning into the show today. Thanks to all the callers. Thanks to all the super chats. I wish I could tell you who got memberships today, but unfortunately, that thing that YouTube does where it reads you the names wasn't working. So if you gifted a membership and you received it, thank one of the following people today. Because I'd love to shout them out, but I just can't. Dre, Jet It Out, or Mike D's Nuts. Those are the people who gifted memberships in the show today. Once again, thank you all for your incredible support. We're back tomorrow with our usual 2 shows on a Football Friday. So I'm looking forward to that. And look, Blitz by BK, one of his tracks was requested on the way out of here. Why don't we play his most recent track, his 3rd song on the Asmaniac album? Here is Football Kings. I'll talk to you guys soon. JETS, 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 Jets.
First and 10 on the 20s, how we set it off. All these teams like this turf, they all wet and soft. Real grass, real gas, what we calling for. Top 5D, special teams that score plenty more. Ready for quarter wars, ready for many more. Open hole, run the ball and take their soul. They just lost in the sauce when Q on patrol. Pound the ball down their throat with haul. Yo, we move bodies, leave it second and inches. Leave the weapons outside, we kill them inside the trenches. No remorse, no resentment, no talk, all is business. Got the fins on the Hitlers, division rap by Christmas. No thirds to convert, pound the ball till it hurts. Hit them with slants, screens, and streets, they all work. First downs after first, number 8 to G-Dub. All we do is convert, the other team we see as scrubs. J-E-T-S, 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 Jets, 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 Jets. Curtis Martin had a dream, watch us live it, there's some rings, watch it vivid, singing songs for these critics. Sing along, haters, y'all the engine to the spirit. Got a message, hope you hear it, handed L's, I hope you wear it. If you ain't hate it, you ain't popping. If you playing, who you stopping? Not the Jets, not an option, we ain't dropping. We pass the ball back and forth like Malone and Stockton. We got championship goals while the Bills are window shopping.
So how did that just feel? Feel great. Poetic justice. We're pissed off. We was ready to come back and show what type of defense, what type of team this was, what kind of character we had. We take a lot of slack. To all the non-believers. How did that? To all the non-believers. For all you non-believers, disrespect us. Can't wait.